Hello, my name is Aaron and welcome to the channel. And on today's lesson, I'm going to take you through the first 5 things that you should do with your map before heading out on the ground. So do stick around. So as already mentioned, there's 5 things to check on your map before heading out on the ground. And this applies to anywhere you are on the world with whatever map that you've got. These 5 things are datum, vertical interval, age, grid magnetic angle, and scale. In the military, we teach this all the time and we remember it by the handy mnemonic DVAGS. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through each one of those and I'm going to explain a little bit more. So let's talk about datums. I'm not going to go into too much detail because that's a whole lesson in itself for the future. All I'm going to show you now is where to find the information, okay, and how to use it. What I have in front of me is an Ordnance Survey map of Newquay and Padstow. There's a box, the National Grid Reference System, and underneath that there's a bit of writing and some details. The first part, base map constructed on transverse Mercator projection, Airy spheroid, OSGB 1936 datum, vertical datum, mean sea level, Newland. Okay, this is the sentence that we need, but the majority of that sentence we can just throw away. The first part we don't need. What we need is the OSGB 1936 datum part. OSGB standing for Ordnance Survey Great Britain. 1936 is when this datum was established. And all Ordnance Survey mapping, okay, on the British National Grid is operating on that datum. This is a local datum, and this is not a datum that you would use, say, in France, Italy, the United States. So you would have to check your map to see which datum it's using and then apply the changes. Understanding the different datums is particularly important when we come to using GPSs like this Garmin Montana. Okay, perhaps one of these little handheld ones that a lot of soldiers use in the military. Even down to your mobile phone. All of these devices have a global positioning system built into them, and we use them a lot, especially nowadays with more apps on your phone. Okay, and you can still go into the settings and you can change what datum you're using as and when you travel around the world. If you're using a GPS with a wrong datum, what will happen is that you're going to get inaccurate readings. The GPS will show you one grid reference, and when you plot it on the map, it's just not going to be where you are. Vertical interval. This is the distance between contour lines. On Ordnance Survey maps here in Great Britain, you can get a vertical interval of 5 metres and you can also get 10 metres. So it's always handy to check to make sure which one you're on. The last thing you want to do is go out and climb up a hill thinking it's a certain height, and actually when you get there, it's twice the height. The other maps we have here in Great Britain are made by Harvey, and they have a contour interval of 15 metres. A lot of mapping around the world will have their own contour interval, and some countries are still using the imperial system, so just bear that one in mind, that it's going to be in feet rather than in metres. It's always handy to have the latest and most up-to-date mapping of the area that you're going to be travelling through. Not so much in rural areas because the mountains and the public footpaths are not going to change too much from year to year. But if you're going to be travelling through urban areas, in particular, you could see huge changes in the space of just a year or two, with new housing developments, new roads and tracks and trails having to be moved. Unless you're deliberately setting out to challenge yourself, I definitely recommend going out and buying the latest and most up-to-date map. The grid magnetic angle. On an Ordnance Survey map, the blue lines running up and down the page point to grid north, not magnetic north. Magnetic north is what's on your compass, and that's where that points to. Because of magnetic declination, and we'll cover that in another lesson, there's going to be a difference between the two. On the Ordnance Survey map, they give you a load of information and a handy diagram to work out what the grid magnetic angle is. The information provided tells you where magnetic north was in relation to grid north and to true north at the time of this map being produced. It also provides what the average annual change is and whether that's moving to the west or to the east. As we know the age of the map, we can therefore work out what the angle would be in today. So now we know what the grid magnetic angle is for this particular map that we're using, we can use that in future for making adjustments on our compass. When applying the GMA to our compass to make any alterations, we need to bear in mind whether the GMA is in the west or in the east. If it's in the west, okay, then going from a grid bearing to a magnetic bearing, we're going to add the grid magnetic angle to the compass. If we're going from a magnetic bearing, okay, to the map, so from mag to grid, we're going to get rid of it. Now, if the GMA is in the east, all we're going to do is we're just going to flip that around. And the last thing we're going to talk about is the scale of the map. Here in Great Britain, we're quite fortunate in the fact that Ordnance Survey produce a map with a scale of 1 in 25,000, which is fantastic for us as hikers. These squares, they're 4 centimetres by 4 centimetres per kilometre, and they produce a lot of information, which is really handy when you're out walking. They also produce a 1 in 50,000 map, not so much detail, okay, but then you don't need to carry as many maps, say if you're going on a long distance hike. Now, a nice happy medium is a map that's produced by Harvey, okay, and they produce a map with a scale of 1 in 40,000. So you get a kind of a best of both worlds. You don't have to carry as much paper, right, but you're still getting some amount of detail within those grid squares. So that is the 5 things that you should do with your map before heading out. So just a quick recap. Datum. Ensure your GPS and your map are set to the same datum. Otherwise you can end up in the wrong place. Vertical interval. Ensure you check it. The last thing you want to do is climb up a hill that's twice as big as you thought it was going to be. Remember, in Great Britain we have 5, 10 and 15, depending on which map you're using. Age of the map. Have a quick check of the age of the map, just something in the back of your head, so if you're going through a housing estate and it's not on the map, then you know why. Grid magnetic angle. Again, going to have to do some calculations. I recommend doing this before you leave the house, okay, and then just write it on the map so you've always got it there for future use. And the scale, 1 in 25, 1 in 50, or if you go to a Harvey map here in Great Britain, you can have yourself a nice 1 in 40,000. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Okay, it's just a few pointers before you head out. Okay, just pick up your map, all right, DVAGS your map before you go out, and then you've got all that information before you go. If you like the video, do give it a thumbs up. Any comments you have, please do leave them below. And I'll see you soon for another video. Take care.